welcome into the next and frankly best edition of the Vegas Squares podcast. I say best because our fearless leader Aaron is not here. So welcome into Studio B. I am Spike. Joining me as always is Token Tony. Say hello, Token.
Yo, what's going on?
Hey, not much. So we are here to kind of fill in the void and follow up a little bit. We've been talking a lot about the Urban Meyer discussion, and the last time that we talked, no decision had actually been made. The report had come in, but it hadn't become public yet. Now we know 3-game ban. Is that fair? Is that the right move? What do you think?
I think that's, unfortunately reasonable if you're Ohio State fan and all that. I don't think the punishment's too harsh in both ways. I think if it's the situation that happened, and I was honestly thinking too, and I think what kind of pushed it over that was the statements that came out Friday and into the weekend.
Right. So some of the things we know is that they looked into all of the allegations about Meyer and about the way that he handled the domestic violence accusations against his former assistant Zach Smith. He had been put on administrative leave basically from the time that these accusations really came out, and we didn't know what was going to happen until this past week. So now that has come to light, we know that, all right, maybe Meyer should have done more. It was the university hired somebody to come in and kind of look at everything, look at all the facts, do their own investigation. But a lot of people are saying that this is Ohio State putting football in front of women, in front of everything else, because college football is an important part of the fabric of that school. Do you think that's a fair assessment? Do you think that if this wasn't Ohio State, or if this had not been something like a domestic violence allegation, if it had been the assistant coach had been accused of, theft from a grocery store, let's say, is this the kind of thing that, is this, what am I trying to say here? I don't fucking know. Is this the kind of thing that, because it's domestic violence, but because Urban Meyer is such a good coach, that there's never going to be a fair middle ground that everybody's going to agree to?
I honestly don't think there's ever going to be a fair middle ground between everybody's opinion. I know some people that probably think he should be fired, and I know some people that probably think he should probably maybe be suspended 1 game, if not any. So
yeah, it's just and this is exactly what I thought would happen. I thought it would be 3 games, because we know that Ohio State is a very, very good football program. Even just, not talking overall, not talking history, just this year, they are a very good football program. We know that the first 2 games are kind of the jerk-off games. These are nobody takes the first couple of games of a college football season seriously. It's not really preseason, but they're not playing a tough schedule. They're not playing an in-conference schedule. And then the 3rd game was the question mark. It was TCU. TCU maybe looks like they're down a bit this year compared to other years, but this is still going to be a decisive, big battle that, really should mean something in the standings. And it was a question of whether or not Urban Meyer would get that 3rd game.
Yes.
So we know that towards the end, or towards the conclusion of the investigation, there were some other accusations that came out. There were some other, and let's just call it, it's noise, it's nonsense, it's problems for Urban Meyer. So, myself and Aaron, I know we originally thought 2 games. Once that extra stuff came out, we thought 3, which is what happened.
Yeah.
Do you think that was contributing, the extra stuff that came out towards the end of the investigation? Do you think that's what pushed it over the edge from 2 to 3 games?
I believe so, yes.
And is this problematic for Ohio State? Is that TCU game now in doubt? Obviously any team can beat anybody. We saw that with Appalachian State beating Michigan, which is still my favorite football game ever.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
But, is this something where Ohio State fans should now be concerned?
I think it's a little worrisome. I think Ohio State is definitely capable of beating TCU this year. As you know, like you said, they're on a downswing. I think they just need some locker room leadership to push them over the edge to get over that hump. And I think they have some truly capable seniors to do that. So,
oh fuck. We'll let Aaron edit that out while he's on vacation. All right. One of the other things that's being criticized about this is not necessarily about the decision. It's not about the investigative process or anything else. It's about what Urban Meyer had to say during his press conference, where he had a chance to come out and say something that was, either, I don't want to say like he has to all of a sudden become an advocate against domestic violence because, that's maybe not his thing, maybe not his calling. But he could have said something more than just, I trust the process, I trust the school, and apologizing to the ex-wife by saying something like, I'm sorry we're in this situation. Like, I mean, how is that reasonable? How is that, that to me is a failure of leadership. Maybe I'm reading too much into this, but that to me is just Urban Meyer falling down on the job.
Yeah, I totally get you on that one for sure. To me, it's like a backhanded compliment in a way.
Yeah, and I know that he's a program guy. Like, he's going to say good things about the school, especially because they didn't fire his ass. Not that he'd have trouble finding work, but he can come out there and he could have said anything that kind of address the issue rather than the direct quote is, I have a message for everyone involved in this. I'm sorry we're in this situation. I'm just sorry we're in this situation. It's just, he kind of brought part of this on himself by saying that he didn't remember some of the things that happened. Apparently he deleted text messages as well, which I didn't know about until I read about it this morning. Mm-hmm. And he can remember, he says that he can remember every play of every down of certain football games, but when it comes to allegations about an assistant coach beating his wife, all of a sudden he has memory problems. There's a lot there to me that stinks.
Yeah, I mean, he's a big football guy and all that, so I mean, football's king to him for sure, absolutely.
Oh, yeah. And it's king to a lot of people too.
Yeah, and you're talking about one probably the top 3 coaches in college football as of right now, currently in the game.
Right.
So.
I agree with that too, because it's not even just about the coaching, it's about the recruitment, which we all know. Yeah. I actually used to work at a college admissions office, and we never said that we wanted to get the best incoming class. We wanted to get the most engaged alums, so that way they could give money back to the university when they were done. So, and I think that Urban Meyer being a part of Ohio State long term is going to help the university more than just this, what they're looking at apparently is a little headache or a little hiccup.
Yeah, I mean, think about it at the end of the season. How many people honestly look at this and be like, well, that's why they're Ohio State? Yeah.
And, I mean, let's be honest. By the time the playoffs roll around, nobody's even going to remember this.
Yeah.
This will be part of, an in memoriam, season recap that ESPN plays, and it'll be mentioned in the first 10 seconds, and that's it.
I was going to say the first 3 seconds.
Yeah, there we go. Exactly. So, anyway, I'm sick of Urban Meyer. Yeah. We'll let him take his 3 games off and sit around and watch Young and the Restless.
The Ohio State University.
Sorry. I had a buddy that went to Ohio State once, or he went to Ohio State, and I had to go to Michigan, for a class I was taking last summer. And I said, hey, what's the best way to get from Ohio State to Michigan? And he said, west until you smell it, north until you step in it.
Fair enough. Seems legit.
I was like, oh, okay. I guess I kind of forgot about that little rivalry, but I thought that was pretty clever.
Yeah, you have a better shot of getting from Lansing to Ann Arbor than Columbus to Ann Arbor.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you're from Michigan.
Yeah.
Are you a Wolverine guy?
No, I'm a Spartan.
Spartan? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That's fair.
Yeah.
Sorry. Anyway, why don't we stick with college football a little bit here, because I know that our fearless leader will enjoy hearing this, that the University of Central Florida, is it Central? Yeah, Central Florida.
Yes.
were officially recognized among the college football national champions in the 2018 season. So, the NCAA guide, I guess, or whatever it's called, it came out recently, I think over the weekend, and on page 115, where they listed all the previous college football champions for 2017 and had Alabama as the champion of the college football playoff, the AP, the USA Today, another poll that I don't recognize. But then UCF was listed as a champion under the, what is that, Collie poll?
Yeah.
Coley? I don't know.
Yeah, something like that, yeah.
Yeah. The UCF finished atop the Coley Matrix, which is one of the computer ranking systems that's recognized by the NCAA, so this isn't just some kind of like rogue poll. So, no, I thought that was interesting because that was the point of the playoff, was that we were supposed to not have these kinds of controversies.
Yes,
but,
absolutely. They still keep on happening, and I still see them happening for the meantime being until they change something with the format, or maybe make it an 8-team and have all the Power 5 plus 3 at-large bids. Yeah, well, I mean, and that makes sense. And I think that's probably what we're going to end up moving to, because you can't go to 16 because that's just way too many. Yes.
6, if you give 2 teams a bye, then you have to have these same stupid arguments about which team gets a bye.
I think 8's the most fair. I was thinking 6 not too long ago, and I recently changed my mind to 8 teams make a fair assessment.
Right, and I that to me should be a better representation, because I mean that's the point. We want to figure this out on the field, and that's something that fans have been craving for decades. We finally got it to a certain degree with the playoff system, but again, you know, we have arguments about who should be in and who's out, and you know, who missed, and this, that, and the other thing. And now we have UCF didn't even get a chance to compete in the playoffs, even though they were perfect this past year. So, you know, it's one of those frustrating things where I don't know if we can ever get it right. I don't think the NCAA gets anything right to begin with. But,
no. Besides making money.
Oh, yeah, I know they can make money hand over fist.
Yeah.
There was, I forget if I've talked about it on this podcast before, but there was a college softball player who lent her brother her car, and he took it like off-roading or something. So when she got it back, she took it to the clubhouse of whatever school she was played for, and then used the hose at the clubhouse to kind of hose off the dirt and shit that was left over. That was an NCAA violation because she got special privileges for using that hose and using the university's water to wash off her car.
Wow.
And the NCAA came down on her. Like, this is the level of stupidity that college athletes have to deal with when trying to, you know, just get through school, play sports, and, you know, try to better themselves. And these are the kinds of nonsensical things that we have to live with. So why should we trust the NCAA to get this right? Like, we can't. And that's why Mark Cuban a few years ago started offering like millions of dollars to any school that would leave the NCAA and join his organization, because he wanted to start something to have a better organization, or a better run organization.
Yeah, I mean, that's never going to happen exactly, right? And you're never going to appease everybody like the Urban Meyer situation. So. Yeah,
no, and that's true. But again, congrats to UCF. I know that they put in a lot of hard work, and it was unfortunate that they didn't get to show it on the field. I know that that's something that they wanted to do. I know that that's something that we all would have looked forward to seeing, even if they got fucking slaughtered, even if they went out there.
At least they had an opportunity, and they were at least acknowledged of that opportunity.
Exactly. This is like, I know not many people in Nevada alone follow high school football, but Bishop Gorman out here is just an absolute powerhouse.
Yeah.
I mean, they were number one in the country for I don't even know how long. They might still be, for all I know. But I
think if they're not, they're in the top 3 or top 5 still.
Yeah, and I remember it was either last year or the year before. I was procrastinating doing some homework, and I looked it up, and they were playing the state championship game against a team that was ranked like number 9 in the country, and Bishop Gorman beat them like 84-0. And, you know, even if UCF went out and played Alabama, neutral site, you know, wherever it may be, and they went out there and lost 84-0, I would still say that is a better outcome than having these kinds of split championships.
I actually just looked up Bishop Gorman on the high school uh, prep rankings, and
I know.
they were actually 12th.
What, really?
And they actually just got slaughtered 42-0 this
Damn.
past week.
Wow. All right.
So
I don't know what's going on then, because I know
Yeah.
under Tony Sanchez they were doing really well. Tony Sanchez, now the
Yeah.
coach of UNLV.
I mean, they were pointing number 2 in the country. So
Yeah. So let me guess. Don Bosco in New Jersey's up there somewhere.
John Bosco's number 1.
Okay. Let me
That's
see.
in California.
There's a. I know there's a Don Bosco in New Jersey.
Bellflower, California.
Okay.
And then Matter Die from Santa Ana.
Okay.
is-
wow.
Yeah. And then Allen in Texas is number 3.
Wow. All right. So yeah, I guess I'm a couple of years behind on my high school football rankings here.
Yeah.
But yeah. Anyway, I mean, Bishop Gorman for a number of years was fucking disgusting. I think they lost maybe 3 games in a 5-year stretch, and they were playing like the best teams out of Texas and Georgia and Florida.
Yeah, like ridiculous schedules and all that. Yeah.
Yeah, they were just doing that well. But
Yeah.
so no, that was fun. But again,
Yeah, I still follow a little Michigan football here and there, but it's always the same teams coming up on top
oh yeah,
for each division usually.
yeah, I try to keep up with my high school
Especially
team.
since they changed the conferences out in Michigan. It sucks, kind of.
Oh, did they?
Yeah, they switched it from the Mega to like some stupid name, and it's like really stupid. It makes it more like regionally biased instead of ranking bias. Kind of.
Okay, interesting.
So you get like those god awful matchups, even worse than what it was before.
I know in Massachusetts, where I'm from, I actually went to Catholic prep school. They have an entire Catholic division or a Catholic conference because there are so many Catholic high schools out there.
There's a whole bunch in Michigan too.
Are
yeah,
there? Okay.
and-
Yeah.
Yeah, when they had the mega conference, they used to have a Catholic league.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. And our school wasn't huge. Like we didn't send a ton of guys to even like Division I schools, but we did have. I'm going to see if you can remember this. Oh, actually, fuck, I can't look him up without because I don't remember his stats. I think he has a Super Bowl ring. He was a career, not even just backup. I think he was like a career third string quarterback, and he actually made it to the NFL. Played a couple of years. Now I think he might actually be coaching back in my high school. Brian St. Pierre. You remember that name at all?
It sounds familiar.
Yeah. It was funny because, he, like I said, career backup, and then there was just 1 week or 1 or 2 weeks where just everybody for the Carolina Panthers got hurt, and they pulled him out of a 1.5 year retirement and just kind of threw him in for a spot start.
Yeah.
They're like, yeah, all right, go ahead, see what you can do. And he got fucking slaughtered, of course. But
Yeah, that's kind of an interesting story, though.
yeah, no, that was pretty funny.
I remember 2 schools, at least back home, that were Catholic that always did well. One was in my city. It was called Divine Child. And then one that always did well in every sport. It was a prep Catholic school. And that was called University of Detroit Jesuit.
Okay.
So
University of Detroit. Okay, yeah. So
they're always good in all. I mean, they were good in tennis. They were good at golf. They were good at football. They were good at you name it.
yeah.
They're always up there.
Yeah, and that was kind of the thing. My school was St. John's Prep, and we were against like Zavarian Brothers, BC High. There was another St. John's High School, which always made things confusing.
Oh yeah.
And then just another handful of them, and we played against them in basically everything except fencing. Because when I was in high school, only us and a public school, Concord Carlisle Regional School, had a fencing program, so we had to go
Oh,
against
that's
them.
interesting.
And then we did like the club teams at UNH,
Okay.
Brandeis, BCBU, and things like that. So anyway,
Yeah, when I was in high school, we didn't have a bowling team. Except my freshman year, we had a bowling club team.
okay, there you go.
And I did it that year, and I was pretty damn good.
I tried to get a bocce team going at my school, but that didn't take.
Yeah, that'd be pretty fun, though.
Yeah, I was vice president of the Greek and Latin club, so it's like, all right.
That's pretty awesome, though.
That seems like it would be appropriate. Anyway, enough about that. We should move on. Should move on to a sport that we've actually kind of neglected quite a bit this season. How about some Major League Baseball?
Yeah, I mean, the season always drags on and all that, especially come World Series poker time.
Yeah, and it's tough, especially for us, because I know that we have other interests, we have other work. The season starts just as the hockey and basketball playoffs are starting up.
Yeah.
Once those wrap up, then it's World Series of Poker time.
Yeah, it becomes like the red-haired stepchild.
There you go.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things, and now especially with pace of play issues and PEDs and everything else, and me personally, like I've always been a Red Sox fan. I can always, if a Red Sox game is on, I can sit down and watch it. But for the last couple of years, I haven't been seeking those games out. Like, I haven't been actively saying, the Red Sox are playing it, 6, 7 o'clock, whatever it is.
I've got to watch it or something.
Yeah, and it just hasn't been that way. Like, I have watched more of the professional Overwatch League. I've been watching more e-gaming than I have Major League Baseball this year.
It's kind of interesting, yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know if that's just me or, how that is with the ratings.
I probably can guarantee there's more people out there that have watched Cornhole than you think, too. Or beer pong.
Yes. Oh God, I love the Ocho. Yeah, no, but I you're right, because like there were just other sports that, even if they're quirky, even if it's kind of like I was flipping through the channels the other night and I found like the lumberjack games were on, and it was like
I've watched that.
Yeah,
it's interesting.
It's interesting stuff, but
power saw, and you have to have a certain diameter and all that.
Or like the two-handed manual saw where you got to work as a team. Like things and it's just,
and then the log run and all that too.
Yeah, it's crazy shit like that, and then you kind of look over and you see Major League Baseball, and it's just it's
just there.
It's the same old game. It's the same old it could be a 2-hour game. It could be a 5.5-hour game. A 9-inning game. We're not even talking about going into extras.
Yeah.
Depending on how teams use their bullpen and everything else.
Yeah.
So, it is... but now that we're coming towards the end of the season, is this something that you're going to make more of an effort to watch?
Oh, yeah. Come towards the playoff push. I mean, it's really tightening up in the National League, I see.
Yeah, and, we're getting to the point now where Atlanta... and this is kind of one of the things is where people, they throw out their prognostications at the beginning of the year, and it's just... how are the Nationals this bad?
And that's probably one of the biggest surprises in all of baseball right now is how they're probably going to miss the playoffs this year.
It's just absurd.
Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised in that division if only one team makes the playoffs and it's the division winner. I would be surprised if it's probably not Atlanta.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I don't think Philly's there enough yet to get up to where they need to be to make that little push.
Okay.
Even though they're winning to get against Toronto as of right now, how we speak, but I don't know. I think Atlanta is more of a full team than Philly right now.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Now, am I reading this right? Let me see here.
Yeah.
Yes. So even though we are still in August, so we still have a full month and a few days left in the regular season, we already have 2 teams eliminated from playoff contention, including a recent World Series winner in the Kansas City Royals.
Yes.
What has happened to Kansas City? Like, why are they this
I would
bad?
say it's a dumpster fire, but I don't think that's the right word. I don't think that's strong enough.
That's pretty bold right there.
Yeah, it seems like every transaction that they made during every offseason in the last 3 years have been awful. Plus injuries on top of that.
Yeah, I mean, and everybody's going to get hit by the injury bug at some point. So, there's nothing you can do about that. But, when your best starting pitcher's ERA is a 4.70,
it's pretty awful.
Best starting pitcher WHIP is a 1.33. Your save leader has 8 saves.
I wonder if he has more blown saves than saves.
Maybe. I bet there are setup men with more saves than this guy.
I would not be surprised, yeah.
And, as sick as it is, and as much as we can shit all over Kansas City for being this bad, they're not even the worst team in the league. That record belongs to the Baltimore Orioles, who are even worse. So, and this is, when I look at Kansas City, like their batting average leader is hitting 306. Okay,
that's reasonable-ish.
Yeah, that's fine. I can take 306. For Baltimore, it's Adam Jones hitting 280. That's not good.
Yeah,
that's just not good. We talked about ERA on the other side. And
4.8 pretty much.
Yeah, it's a 4.8, so it's even worse. WHIP is a 1.38, so that's even worse.
Yeah.
And how about half the saves? Their team leader in saves has 4.
Yeah.
Which, on 37 games, that means he's still saving
1 out of every 9 wins.
Yeah, but that's just, oh, God, that is terrible. And I remember there was a shot at the beginning of the year of a Chicago White Sox game where they got like 1,500 people in the stands, and
I thought it was fewer than that actually.
It could have been, yeah. But it's one of those things where you start to wonder, like, what can Major League Baseball do to, they don't have to resuscitate shitty teams, like that's fine. Like we don't need the league interfering in that kind of thing. But what can they do to keep the fans engaged, to cut down on time? Like, there has to be something here that can get people back into the fold to watch some of these teams.
Strippers?
Oh, there you go. No, I mean having any kind of spectacle like that. Like you get cheerleaders out there, you get the dancing girls. Like,
I know every team has like the little pick me up like cheerleader kind of like fans that go around like the stadium or dance on the bullpen or whatever.
Oh yeah. So, there's got to be something that these people can do, because this is a great league. Like it's a fun league, or it could be a fun league to watch, but for people like me that don't necessarily have 4 or 5 hours a night, 162 nights a year to dedicate to these games, like that gets a little concerning. And I'm wondering if there should be talk about either shortening the regular season or shortening games. Make it a 6-inning game instead of 9.
No, I think that changes it way too much.
Does it? Okay.
Yeah.
So then what?
I'd rather have the longer games with the shittier 9 innings and the boredom, and I mean the casual fan that is going to just look at the highlights or whatever, I mean, that's good enough for them. The people that are really into baseball love the 9 innings. They like that excitement, especially if somebody's going for a no-hitter or a perfect game or something like that. Oh,
sure, yeah. No, I get that. But, I guess this is the question then of, in order to keep the game alive, in order to keep the game moving forward, do you want to appeal to the diehards, or do you want to appeal to a new generation of fans? And if you're trying to appeal to a new generation of fans by keeping the game exactly the same as it has been, is that really the best strategy moving forward? And you're probably right that shortening the games to 6 innings is stupid, but I'm gonna say
I'm not saying it's stupid. I
it's
think it's just too drastic of a change to just upset too many people, I think.
Yeah, no, you're probably right about that.
And you're changing the dynamic of something that's been there for 120 years that severe, with how many stats and records that it holds for that period of 9 innings.
Right, yeah. Yeah, that's probably true, too. The record books would get rewritten. I wanted to get back to one thing, because I brought up the shitty teams for a reason, and I kind of glanced over this. Mm-hmm. So, as a sports bettor, which is, frankly, the point of this fucking podcast is to talk about sports betting, is there money to be made betting against Baltimore and betting against Kansas City just in every game from here on out? If you throw $5 at minus, probably you're looking at, anywhere from minus 140 to minus 210 the rest of the way out through the season.
Realistically, on average, yeah, that's probably about the money lines that you'll see.
Right. I mean, is that a viable strategy in order to make money for the rest of the year?
Realistically, no, I would say it is not, unless if you really like the pitching matchup and all that. I would avoid at all costs when they're facing divisional opponents, because that's when they're more likely to play their heart out and all that because they know the other team, they know their ups and downs, they know how their pitching is and all that more than the non-division opponents.
Right, but the flip side of that is that some of those division opponents are still going to be fighting for playoff and wild card spots.
Yes, but some are kind of coasting and taking it a little easier too.
Okay, so I mean, realistically, like Baltimore right now is 37-93. So let's say that they're winning 1 out of every 3 games. So if you were to bet $5 on them the rest of the way out through the regular season, if you won 2 out of 3 of those games, you don't think that's good enough to make the money back? Or do you think that Baltimore is just going to be competitive enough that that kind of 1 out of 3 is probably going to be more like, 1.5 out of 3, or, kind of moving more towards a more even split?
I would say 1 out of every 3 is realistic. I just don't see as much potential with them as I do another team I had in mind when you mentioned that.
Okay, then who would that be?
That is the Giants, San Francisco.
Really?
Yes, I think they still have a strong enough record where they're going to be closer to even money on the money lines. So when betting against them, you're going to pay less juice.
Okay.
As of right now, I know Posey's been injured and missed at least a few games.
Yeah, he's out. He's actually, I just had to drop him from my fantasy team.
Yeah, he's done the rest of the season.
Yeah, I mean,
pretty much.
He is having season-ending surgery. I don't know if that has already happened or what the deal is.
It's been determined.
Yeah.
I mean, they're still technically in the race for the playoffs, but very unlikely that they get there. And they still have the pitching that's already enough to get them a good value to bet against them.
Interesting. Okay.
I would lean towards them to win maybe about 4 out of every 10 going on the way out. So
okay, and yeah, you're right with the record where they are because they're nearly 500 right now.
Yes.
Yeah, they could. You could get some pretty favorable lines and make some money that way. Okay,
Yeah.
No, that's interesting. I hadn't thought of it that way, but I think you're onto something here.
Yes.
And you're right because I'm bringing up their record right now, and Buster Posey, who is not only their catcher, but he's also their batting average and OBP leader for the season, is now gone.
Yes.
So yeah, we're you may be onto something here.
Yeah, and they're still going to get that good enough price for them. Wow, I'm surprised their save leaders only got 13.
Yeah. So they have a game today. I mean, nobody's going to hear this by the time this game's going on. But San Francisco right now, if I'm reading this right, is actually a favorite against the Texas Rangers.
Yes.
So you're saying bet the Rangers get plus money.
Yeah, oh yeah.
And more times than not, you're going to win
You should, yes.
Yeah.
Especially with Poser not playing and all that. I mean, Texas isn't that great of a team right now, but I mean, the value's for sure there today.
Yeah. Okay. Fuck it. I'm going to bet that right now while we're sitting here.
Is it Big Sexy on the mound today? I highly doubt it because of that price.
Yeah. No, it's Gallardo against Holland.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I mean, Holland's
Yeah.
their team leader, but I mean, at still 3.7 ERA is not that great.
No, but I mean, Gallardo's got a 7-2 record, but somehow a 6.06 ERA.
Probably gets a lot of run support.
Yeah, he must. So yeah, all right, that'll be.
But I actually think a good play on that would be Rangers in the over then.
All right, well, let's see. I'm going to take it right now. I'm going to log into William Hill. So let's see. Pro baseball. Let's see what we got here. Giants and Rangers. Yeah, Rangers plus 140.
Oh, I love that price. Yeah.
Over's 8.5.
It's kind of a little low in my mind.
Yeah. So it's.
I was thinking it was going to be like 9.5 actually.
Yeah, it's minus 105, which is fine. So we'll take Rangers plus 140, over 8.5 as a 2-leg parlay. And let's see, I'm just going to put $5 on it. So $5, I'll collect $23.40
Okay.
for Rangers and the over 8.5.
Make $18.40 on
Yeah.
a $5 bet for a 2-leg. That's not too bad.
Yeah, I can take that. I mean, for 2-leg parlay, and this is about as much as I bet on any one game anyway. So
Yeah.
that's neither here nor there. All right, so since we are in baseball mode here, We know that some races are closer than others, obviously, especially in the AL West.
Yes.
Where Houston and Oakland are basically right up against each other.
Neck and neck. And Seattle's kind of creeping behind,
They're nipping at the heels there.
Yeah.
NL East, I know that you think Atlanta can run away with it, especially with Philadelphia and Washington not being that great.
Yeah. I don't see Washington coming back from 8.5 at this point in the season.
So right now, all right, so let's do American League division leaders are the Boston Red Sox, the Cleveland Indians, and the Houston Astros. Mm-hmm. Of those three, which one is the most likely to lose their division lead?
Houston.
Yeah. And I think just based on the numbers, that makes a lot of sense. And I think especially
Houston's got a little hiccup right now. Their hitting's been down. Their relief pitching's been not so great. It kind of worries me if you're a Houston fan looking to the postseason if they can get over that hiccup before the postseason starts.
Yeah, and I mean, let's face it, their record right now is good enough that even if they didn't win the division, they should still win a wild card spot. They should still be able to get into that game, which I still hate the fact that they have that one game playoff that they play.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, this is the only division where I think Oakland. It's not only Houston is down, it's not only that Oakland is up, it's the fact that those two teams have been so close for so long that it makes me confident that Oakland can kind of take over there. Because let's face it, the AL East, the Red Sox are playing out of their minds, even though they looked like shit the last few nights against Tampa Bay.
Yeah, but Tampa Bay's on a 7-game winning streak, and actually one of their hitters has hit homered in 7 straight games, which is one away from tying MLB record.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
And then, the Yankees, obviously they're going to make a push. Obviously they're going to be competitive, but I think Boston's just made too big of a gap between the two of them.
Or no, that was Toronto, Morales.
Okay.
Homered in 7 straight.
Yeah, and Toronto's, even at 60 and 69, that could still be competitive in most of the other divisions, but right now they're 30 games back of Boston. Like, Boston's just playing out of their minds that mediocre in the AL East is just not good enough this year. In the AL Central, Cleveland's obviously way up on Minnesota. They're 12 games up right now. Cleveland's still a nice story to me, but again, as a Red Sox fan, like, nothing Cleveland does, nothing that Houston does, nothing that any of these teams do scare me.
The only thing that would scare me if you're a Boston fan with Cleveland is their bullpen.
Okay.
I think their bullpen's really strong, and they have that experience come playoff time to get them slight advantage over other teams.
Interesting. Yeah, that's real important going deep. I remember in the 2004 stretch where the Red Sox had to play against the Yankees.
Oh yeah, they
had
big
those extra inning
component.
games, and the Red Sox bullpen was just unbelievable. Curtis Liskanek, who was about the worst pitcher you can think of, and probably the worst or second worst pitcher on the team. Okay. Just came in during extra innings and just shut the Yankees down. Just like out of his mind. So
and that's what you need, that timing, especially. I mean,
yeah. So you combine a good bullpen with good timing and a deep playoff run, and that, you're right, that is a team that can do it. But I'm not convinced the offense.
I wouldn't be too worried about them, but yeah.
All right, so let's move over to the National League. Same question. We have Atlanta in the East, the Cubs in the Central, and Colorado actually tied with Arizona in the West. Mm-hmm. Again, of those 3, or let's say 4 teams, which one is most likely to miss the playoffs?
I would lean towards Colorado.
Colorado, okay.
I think they still could probably get a wild card. I mean, it just depends what the Dodgers do there. I mean, they're 2.5 back between the division leaders. In my mind, out of the West, Arizona's going to win that division.
Okay.
And I think that's one of the better teams in the National League and could absolutely prove it.
See, for me, it's the Cubs losing to St. Louis, which I know my boss would probably fire me if he heard me talking like that, because he is a a massive.
Cubs.
He had never been to a sporting event other than a Cubs game before he went to a Golden Knights game this year.
Oh, okay.
So, I mean, he is die-hard Cubs fan.
Hey, at least he's loyal, I guess.
Oh, yeah. But I like what St. Louis is doing. I like their pitching. And I think that they very well have a shot of kind of overtaking the... I don't want to say Chicago hump because that just sounds like a sex move. But...
it probably is. If not, you just created a new monster.
Oh God! All right, I'll let the listeners figure out what the Chicago hump could be, and you can send that to our Twitter account so you can horrify Aaron, and he doesn't know what the hell's going on. Just start saying hashtag Chicago hump, and then put what the actual move is, and make sure you tag at Vegas Squares, because I want to see everything that comes in.
Does it involve Zach Smith?
Oh no! Oh, you're gross. All right, so, but yeah, no, I think of
sure
this.
He has playing six toys for that.
Oh shit! See, you're gonna get us in trouble.
Probably.
But yeah, this is, and I agree with you that Colorado / Arizona could be in trouble if the Dodgers make a move. But for me, I think St. Louis is making the right moves right now. The Cubs, even though the Cubs are playing very well, I think the Cardinals have a very good shot of overtaking them.
Yeah, I definitely wouldn't be opposed to saying that. Even Milwaukee's got a case for that. I mean, I don't think Milwaukee's got that potential like St. Louis does.
No,
I know they got some good hitting and all that, but I think Carpenter's definitely leading the Cardinals towards that playoff push.
yeah. Actually, I gotta see, because, like, again...
And if they don't win the division, I see them getting a wild card spot.
Yeah. So, alright, so this is one thing that I was curious. I didn't know that Ryan Braun was still in the league.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's see. Oh, okay, he's doing alright. Got 309 OBP, 259 average. That's,
Yeah.
not the worst. 14 home runs. Yeah, obviously that's not what we're
Not
used to
his-
seeing out of
yeah.
him throughout his career, but yeah, okay.
I mean, he's 34 years old. I mean,
Yeah.
it's to be expected a little downcline after like 32,
Yeah.
if not even 30.
That's fine. Alright. Alright. Anyway. Any other last thoughts about Major League Baseball before we move on here?
I don't know. I'm kind of leaning towards making a prediction for
Oh!
potential World Series matchup.
Okay. Oh. You ready to give that now?
Yeah, I've been thinking about this for like the last month.
Excellent. Alright, let's hear it. This is
the
Token
AL,
Tony.
AL, who wins the pennant? Boston.
Alright. That's...
Yeah.
You're not exactly going out on a limb here,
Yeah.
but...
And I think out of the National League, the Diamondbacks do.
Ooh.
Yeah. I just looked at their World Series price on the Superbook, and they are currently 12-1.
12 to 1 to win the pennant or the World Series. Okay.
World Series.
What about for the pennant?
Pennant is at... they don't have it listed right now.
Okay. It's still not bad though. 12 to 1. I mean, that's
Yeah, so it might be like 6 to 8 to 1 or something for them to win the NL pennant.
okay.
Usually it's about half for the pennant for them compared to the World Series.
Right. That makes sense. Okay. So interesting. A Boston and Arizona World Series matchup. All right. You ready to pick a winner in that one yet, or is that still too early to tell?
I would take Boston if I had to choose right now.
Okay.
I think they have more experience at it and all that. I would like to see a close World Series, but I also wouldn't be opposed to seeing blowout with some close games, though.
Yeah. Well, last time I wished for a blowout in a championship game. I wanted the Knights to win in 5, and kind of went the other way on me on that one. So I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm not willing to kind of jump on that one with you yet.
Yeah.
But man, all right. Very good. God, the Red Sox are getting fucking smoked today. At least they got one back.
Yeah, they're playing the hottest team in baseball right now.
Yeah.
So. Well, hottest active team right now.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, there's many ways that you could say hottest team, and there's a lot of different ways people think that. I mean, technically, if I had to choose in the last month the hottest team in baseball, I would choose either St. Louis or Oakland. But in the last week, it's definitely been Tampa.
Huh. Yeah, no, I know that they've been playing out of their minds, so that's reasonable.
Oh, so going back to the last podcast that we had with the 5 cents of juice.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
If you would have gotten the game late and took, what was it, Baltimore -1, it would have been a push. But if you would have paid the juice, you would have came out a winner.
Ah, okay.
Aaron had the other way, but the line flipped.
Right.
To -1 the other way.
Interesting.
So at least he got the -1, paid less juice, and still lost.
Right.
But if he had the other way and took the -1, it would have came out as a push instead of paying that extra juice.
Interesting.
So
okay.
I would lean towards in preseason football. It is better to pay the money line, the 5 extra juice, because you're going to see a lot more chances at 2-point conversions, fake punts, stuff like that. A lot more variables.
Right.
Where you're going to see a lot more 1-point games than you would in the regular season, in my mind.
Sure. No, and that makes sense. But no, I'm glad that we actually have, obviously it's anecdotal, but at least we have a game where we can say, based on our conversation before, this is what we know, this is what we can, this is what we know is going to happen on a gambling level or on a sports betting level. We know that taking that extra juice versus the 1 point is going to make a difference in some games.
Absolutely. I mean, it's not going to be always in every game, but...
Oh, sure, yeah.
I would say it's more likely to happen in the preseason than what it normally would.
Yeah. Okay. Ah, fuck. I'm not used to having the mic, directly in my face here, but I don't know what's going on with my board. It feels like everything's so quiet.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I wanted to look at, moving on from this a little bit, is to continue with sort of the betting, and something that I haven't done too much myself, but is something that has been kind of floating around Vegas ever since things like FanDuel and DraftKings has been banned. And that is that the daily fantasy that exists in Vegas, which I think is called
DSF or
USF or USL or something. I gotta actually type it in here. Come on.
That'll probably bring up
South Florida. Yeah. God damn it.
Just search USF fantasy. Yeah,
there we go. Yeah, this is the one. So it's just United States fantasy. Okay. So essentially what it is have you done this?
No, but I've been looking at it a little.
Okay, so it's essentially like horse racing.
Yes.
So you're betting on not necessarily you're not building a full team. You're essentially saying, of the quarterbacks, who's going to have the best week, who's going to have the second best, who's going to have the third best, and you can kind of do win, play, show, and things like that. I know one of the things that Aaron had talked about this past week, specifically, or last week or 2 weeks ago, was about his list of best quarterbacks, and he actually is on Twitter put up the Chris Sims's put up his top 10 quarterbacks for the entire 2018 season. But if we wanted to look at just week one and which quarterbacks we think are going to have the biggest impact and which quarterbacks we think are going to have the best weeks, I think that's going to be kind of more of an interesting
topic.
Kind of look at it, because we're going to have slightly more current information. Plus, we can look at specific matchups. So just to give you an example here, Chris Sims's top 3 quarterbacks in order are Aaron Rodgers, Russell Wilson, and Tom Brady. So if we're looking at week one, we have Aaron Rodgers up against
the Bears.
The Bears.
Yeah.
Thank you. Why am I not? There it is.
Yeah.
We have Russell Wilson playing against the Broncos. It's a hell of a defense.
Yeah.
and Tom Brady playing against Houston. Again, hell of a defense, especially because J.J. Watt actually exists, and he usually plays 2 or 3 games at the beginning of the season. Then he disappears.
Before he breaks a pinky.
Right, exactly. So, these are the kinds of things that we have to look at. So, do we think that those are the 3 best week 1 quarterbacks that should have the best week? Or if you were playing this USF fantasy or daily fantasy thing, are those the 3 quarterbacks that you look at, or would you look elsewhere?
I would look elsewhere. I would say maybe potentially one, and that would be Aaron Rodgers, of course.
Okay.
Even though I think the Bears' defense is underrated, I still think the other 2 defenses are much stronger than the Bears.
Interesting. Okay.
Considering I took one on our fantasy football league. Yeah.
That's fair. One of the things I was thinking of, there are a couple, but one that I want to get your ranting about. What do you think about Matt Stafford against the Jets?
Week 1, I like it.
Okay.
I would say he might have a top 3 week.
Really?
Yeah.
All right. And
another one I would lean towards is potentially Jared Goff against the Raiders.
Okay. All right. So even with the improvements that the Raiders have been making, and even with the new coach, you think that Goff is still worth playing in week 1?
Yeah, I think Raiders' secondary is a little weak, and they're going to find the holes. And with Todd Gurley, with the run game, is going to open up their pass game.
All right. Interesting. And I think, one that we can't overlook because, if you're looking at power numbers, if you're looking at somebody that can put up a ton of points, a ton of yards real quick, it's got to be Big Ben against the Browns.
Oh, okay. I actually thought you were going to go differently with that.
Yeah, I was kind of looking at Jacksonville, especially against New York.
You'll like my other pick here shortly.
All right, then. All right, go ahead, because I don't know who else I could put up there.
Drew Brees against Tampa Bay week 1.
Okay.
In the Superdome.
Yeah. Yeah, that could be good. He could put up a ton of yards.
I see him having 300-plus yards potentially that week.
Interesting. Okay. So, but I mean, these are the kinds of things that we have to think about. Like, if we wanted to look at this again from a specific sports betting procedure, should we be concerned about like Carson Wentz against Atlanta? There, should we be concerned about what Jimmy Garoppolo would be able to do against Vikings? I know the Vikings have a hell of a defense.
Yeah.
That's a very good team, but what we saw at the end of the season from Jimmy was pretty fantastic, taking a pretty rotten team and giving them 5 wins at the end of the season. Like, do any of these other matchups concern you enough that you would kind of shy away from doing this kind of thing, or do you think like, oh yeah, I'm definitely taking Breeze, I'm definitely taking Rodgers, definitely taking whoever?
I mean, it's definitely something to consider, especially depends what value you're getting on the quarterbacks.
Okay. Yeah, and this is kind of the problem, is that this is another one of those places that won't maybe give you the line. Yeah, because, they don't have anything up now for week 1.
Yeah. They'll probably have it out after the last week of preseason.
Yeah. Yeah, let's see. Yeah, they're not putting it up there.
Yeah.
But, wow.
1 point for each positive passing yard.
Yeah, I didn't realize that they were so generous with the points there. So it's
passing touchdowns 30, rushing touchdown. Any touchdowns
is 30 points. 2-point conversion, run pass catch is 10 points.
They could potentially get a shit ton of points if he passes it to himself, catches it, and scores.
Interesting. Okay.
Because that would be 30 points times 2. Because he would get a receiving touchdown and a passing touchdown, plus the number of yards probably times 2.
Yeah.
That's dirty.
Man. They actually list esports as a category up here. They don't have a scoring matrix on here yet, but I would be very, very curious to see if they would do like a Dota or a Overwatch or something like that.
That'd be interesting, yeah.
I'd bet that.
Yeah, you're definitely more into that than me.
Yeah.
For sure, but...
Yeah, I love Overwatch. I can't help it. I don't know if you've ever played it, but
no.
I would rather do that than sit down and watch a baseball game, to be honest with you.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. The last video game I kind of played was Battlefield 4, I think.
Okay.
That was pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah. No, this is.
My favorite video game, probably of all time, it's a racing game. It's called Burnout. So
I know that one. Yeah.
I love Burnout.
Anyway, so a little bit of a tangent there. Yeah, on the USF side, because I do want to keep this, sort of sports betting related, even though it's probably too early to really know the right play on the week one team versus team. But when you're looking at an individual player against a defense or a defensive player against an offense, if you're looking to make those individual plays, I think right now the quarterback play of some of these guys is solid enough that we can say, for me, if I'm doing this USF thing, and I would assume they would allow you, if it's like horse racing, to do something like a box trifecta. But I'm probably taking Rodgers. I like your pick of Breeze, and then probably Stafford against the Jets as a box trifecta, and just kind of letting them go crazy on it.
I think that's reasonable for what we know about the teams and the defense of the teams the quarterback's facing.
Yeah, and again, this is all kind of a crapshoot, and for the most part, a lot of gambling and a lot of daily fantasy sports are crapshoots because somebody breaks a leg in the first quarter, you're screwed.
Yeah, absolutely.
But based
unless if he passes 300 yards before.
Exactly.
But you never know.
Yeah.
I don't know. If I had to pick the exact order right now of those three, I would take Breeze, Rodgers, and then Stafford.
Breeze, Rodgers, Stafford. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and again, like you said, Goff's probably a good matchup. Rodgers is a good matchup. Mm-hmm. You could even argue that whoever is starting a quarterback for Arizona could be a good matchup because the Redskins are. I think they're going backwards, and I think Jay Gruden gets fired sooner than people expect.
Yeah, it could be not in the season. I think the only thing that could keep him in his job is how well Peterson does, I guess.
Yeah, and that's going to be the interesting, kind of the question mark as to what happens there. But
and that's one thing I probably want to take the Cardinals starting quarterback week one, just because he might be enough to move the chains, keep the Redskins or keep the Cardinals off the field a little longer and all that. So
I get you. Yeah. What about Andrew Luck against the Bengals? Maybe that's a play worth looking at.
That's a wild card pick, I think, in my mind. I don't like it enough to possibly play it unless if I see a lot of good value in it. And I think he's going to be overvalued in my mind.
Yeah, maybe. Because if people really decide that they want to start hammering it, then they can. That's interesting. But yeah, I mean, these are sort of the way that we can look at some of these players and a way that we can look at some of the way that they match up against these defenses, I think is going to help out, especially when we're talking about looking at it from a fantasy perspective. If you're just looking at points, like you don't care about wins and losses, that doesn't count against you or count for you. It doesn't look like they take away points for things like interceptions or fumbles or anything like that. So you don't have to worry if somebody's a little maybe sloppy with the ball.
Or there's a weird deflection or something.
Right, yeah. Those kinds of things that you just can't can't get.
Like an immaculate reception but interception.
Right, exactly. So you can do win, play, show, pick 2, pick 3, whatever. But anyway, I thought that was an interesting look because this is something that has existed out here for a while. It's something that we've kind of skipped over in the time that I've been part of this podcast anyway.
Yeah, we haven't really brought it up too much. We brought it up here and there, but haven't gotten too much depth as we have just now. So
right, and I think it's something that we should look forward to in the future, especially with other daily fantasy sports not being legal in Nevada, which is still fucking baffling to me.
Yeah.
But that is what it is. But yeah, no, I think that's probably a good stopping point because we are just at about where we should be to kind of cut this out here. So, Let's see.
Oh, we gotta
Is there
thank our
anything else?
sponsors.
Yes, we're thanking the sponsor. I just want to make sure that I'm getting all of them because I know Aaron has a bad habit of forgetting at least one every single fucking time he opens his mouth. So first thanks obviously goes out to 12 Ounce Sports Radio for putting us on the air.
Are we still on there?
I hope so, because if not, then there's no reason for us to have done this one today, because Aaron was like, oh, make sure you get it done, because 12 Ounce wants to put us on the air. Because, I don't know, apparently they have no taste. We also need to thank Chai Poker. Great guy, great site, so that's something worth checking out. And, of course, VGK Pop Sockets. I'm actually now considering buying one of these things, not just because they're a sponsor, but because it actually looks like it makes holding the phone and kind of navigating on it.
And plus, it has an awesome logo on it too.
That's true.
I wonder if they have the secondary and third logos available too.
We gotta find out, because that would.
If not, something to consider. VGK Pop Sockets.
Yeah, get on that, VGK Pop Sockets, if you're listening. We want options, damn it.
Yeah.
I don't know. Anyway.
Put numbers, put faces.
Yeah, oh, there you go. Get, name and number ones. I'd buy my wife a Nate Schmidt one in a second.
Yeah.
She bought the Nate Schmidt bobblehead. He looks like he's fucking possessed. It's creepy as shit. I'll show you before you leave.
Okay, sounds good.
I'll put a picture up on Twitter so that the fans don't just get cock teased like that. But, yeah, no, it's pretty repulsive. But, anyway, thank you, Aaron, for taking the week off to... make us do all the work, because we do all the heavy lifting on the podcast anyway. He just kind of sits there and pushes buttons. But for Token Tony, I am Spike. Thank you very much for listening, and we'll catch you on the next one.
See ya.